Good morning. Good morning. Great to see all of you. It is my pleasure to be here. I'm here all the time, on campus all the time. But it's great to join you at this great conference. And it's interesting, and I do see a couple of colleagues who are here. They actually allow a Baptist to come to your Methodist. But as Dr. Cullen tells me, I'm a Baptist Methodist, is what he. I've had the pleasure of being part of this campus, Northeastern Seminary and Roberts Wesleyan University, for an extended period of time. And I know I only have 45 minutes, so I won't go into how much and the details of it, but it's been a great and absolutely rewarding experience. And I just want to thank my colleague, Dr. Beth Gerhardt, for switching times with me this morning. Because immediately after this, I have to run across town and meet with one of the senators from New York State on this project that I'm going to describe to you. But it's my pleasure to be here. Thank you for the Justice Network for having me here and allowing me to share with you. I am Dr. Fred Johnson, as was shared, but I often tell people this is kind of who I am. I'm a young man, not young anymore, but I'm an individual who was born in the projects in Brooklyn, New York, from a single mother, but now the Lord has done wonderful and marvelous things. I've been married for 34 years to the same woman. And 3 wonderful adult children, and now a grandfather. And so the Lord can do incredible and marvelous things if you allow him to do it. And so I'm grateful. I just love Jesus, just love the Lord, and love what he has done for me in my life. It is interesting that I'm here because I'm here, and I have a PowerPoint that I'm going to share. And I'm going to go through it very quickly, but I'm here because of Acts chapter 9. I'm that Saul who God, the Lord, that Saul met on the road to Damascus, and he had an encounter with Jesus. I had, and my story's been told many times, I only wanted to be in the pew and do nothing else. I wanted to be I call a CME Christian. Y'all know what that is? Christmas, Mother's Day, and Easter. But the Lord met me on the road of corporate executiveness and at a local company and changed my life. And one who wanted to move up ascend to the upper levels of a corporation, the Lord then gave me a desire for the church. And so I'm here because the Lord met me on my road. It wasn't Damascus, but it was a road called redemption, a road called salvation, and a road called empowerment. And so from that day, I've been on the journey for over 25 years of doing this work in community development. It's a passion. It's a passion for many reasons, and actually recently I've been evaluating why do I have the passion for it. And it's because, as I shared, this young man from the projects in Brooklyn, New York, who did not have adequate home, adequate housing, had a passion to help people. And if you're going to do this kind of work, you need a passion. You don't necessarily have to have the same background, but you have to have a passion. And so my pleasure to be here. I am the pastor of the First Genesis Baptist Church in the city of Rochester. It is a church that just celebrated 50 years of existence, and in 50 years we've had 2 pastors, which is absolutely incredible. I've been there for the past 16 years and looking forward to the great number of years that the Lord would allow me to continue to serve in that capacity. We are in the Crescent area. So what I'm going to be sharing with you in the PowerPoint is the Crescent area. It is the poorest, the second poorest community in the state of New York. We are located and have been located there for the past 47 years of our 50-year existence. And it is an area that historically has been intentionally redlined from investment. It is an area that has been intentionally segregated for investments by banks and institutions. It is an area, but I would suggest it is an area that is on the rise. And it is because the Lord planted First Genesis there and has allowed me to serve for the past 16 years. It is an area that is challenged with crime, with economic investment. Food is a food desert. We're working on all those initiatives to provide justice for the people who live in that area. Our congregation is what you would consider a mid-sized congregation of about 300 people or so. After the pandemic, I'm not sure what the number is, but we serve in a particular area. Our focus is in exalting Christ, exalting Jesus, exalting the Lord, and equipping the believer, equipping folks for the work of ministry, and embracing the community in which we serve. We want to be relevant to the community in which we are serving. And so I'm going to provide for you a slide presentation. It's about 20 slides. I was trying to, it used to be 40 slides, so I didn't think 40 slides would work. So I was trying to get it down to 10, but it is 20 slides. And then it provides an overview of work that I've been doing for 16 years. I see Dr. Babcock, who is here, who has helped me develop this work over these years. Dr. Cullum, I see there. I see Dr. McCowan, who was my dissertation advisor. There she goes. How you doing? All right. And who has helped me to develop this model of approaching ministry. And so some of the slides you're going to see will provide an overview of what we're doing. I'm going to tell you the end before you see the beginning of the slide. The end is we are breaking ground in December of this year on a $45 million housing and economic development project, and I'm going to give you all the details as we as we go through this. I've often told folks I'm a pastor theologian, but I'm a businessman who's been redeemed by the Lord to do the Lord's work. And so what you will see today is a combination of my background in finance, in pastoring, and teaching at the seminary. You'll see a combination of that interwoven within the presentation. All right? Amen. All right. Turn it on first. This is the faith-based community development model that I believe is a model for the 21st century for churches to continue to be relevant, particularly in urban areas that I shared with you that have been intentionally redlined. And I say intentionally because empirical evidence has been revealed that it was intentional for redlining, which simply says we won't invest in a particular area. So what I'm going to talk about is anytime you're doing the work of the church, there has to be, if you will, a biblical and theological reason that you're doing it. We're not social service organizations. The church fundamentally is called to do the work of redeeming individuals, but also making a difference in the lives of individuals. So the Social Justice Network, if I was starting over and was not pastor, I would be part of the Social Justice Network within the Free Methodist tradition. We're going to talk about the process. We're going to talk about what is the model, if you will, for a faith-based organization. I'm going to give you 2 case studies of churches that are in the urban area that is using the model that I'm going to talk about, and then if we have time, we'll have time for some questions and discussion. So if we look at the biblical and theological implications, it is absolutely fundamental that as you're doing this kind of community work, there's an idea that there's a biblical reason for the church to doing this work, and it is, at a high level, it is to restore. It is to use the concepts from the Jeremiah that speaks of restoration. It uses the terms from Luke chapter 4, which talks about liberating those who are captive and those who are in bondage, if you will, and then using from the book of Romans chapter 14 this idea of shalom, which is to bring peace, to bring a level of tranquility to those who are not living to the full capacity that many of us are living for many different reasons, but the role of the church is to help them bring, if you will, restoration, to bring liberation, and to bring peace. So what's the process? Did I skip a page? I did, yeah. In John Perkins' book, John Perkins, anyone heard of John Perkins? Everybody, amen. And I got to meet him about 20 years ago. And what a pleasure it was to meet him and to share as I was writing my dissertation back in 2004. But in his book, Restoring At-Risk Communities, he speaks about this idea of reconciliation, that the work of community development is the aim is to reconcile, to bring those who are broken in relationships and communities back together. The goal of our church is to bring families together, to bring communities together. It's irregardless of if they become part of our church, it is more to do more of kingdom work, if you will. And then there's the idea of redistribution, not Marxism, not communism, not any of those concepts, but to provide an opportunity for community building, job development in areas that I mentioned that were intentionally redlined by policies and legislation. And then he also talks about this idea of relocation, that if you do this work, you have to live among the people. You have to be part of them. And I was actually challenged on this particular one because I never lived in the community down the street from my church. I don't live down the street from my church, and that was a personal decision. But I'm probably there more in the community than I am in my home. And so the concept, the principle really is about living and sensing and being sensitive to the people in which you are serving. The Lord kind of works prophetically because one of the things that we're doing in the project that I'm going to share, as I mentioned, my wife and I, we've been married 34 years. Our kids are older. We live in a certain size home out in the Henrietta area, and we've decided we're going to downsize, and we're moving right down the street from our church. So Lord has a way of doing things interestingly, and I knew it was the thing to do because my wife said it's time to do that. And so I've been married 34 years. You learn to listen to your wife, so to your spouse, I should say. So what's the process to restoring communities? I want to share with you another author, Carl Dudley, speaks about a process. You can have an idea, you can have a plan, but you got to have a process. You got to understand the social context of the community. You have to understand the characteristics of your church. Not every church has maybe understand the heart or the need. It's interesting, and I was sharing with Dr. Cullum some time ago and Dr. Babcock. I've been pastoring at my church now for 16 years. The first 7 years, they had no interest in this. They said, Pastor, just preach, teach, and be a good Baptist pastor. But something happened in year 8. Something happened in year 8, new beginnings, right? And what happened was the Lord empowered a passion within the ministry to do this work. And now we have a list of volunteers that are volunteering their time to do some of the work that I'm going to share with you. So your church has to not only want to do it, but have a biblical and theological perspective for doing it. You have your congregational identity. If you don't have the identity to embrace directly the community, partner with someone, right? Partner with another congregation that is doing it well. And so you don't have to change the characteristic of who you are, but you can find innovative ways to do the work. And then you have to ensure that you're organizing it as and I put social ministry, it's really social justice ministry, a ministry that is intentionally focused on doing that work and understanding that everyone may not have the same passion that you have, but they can be supportive of it in ways that will allow it to move forward. And then you have to mobilize the ministry. And this is where you have to go outside the four walls. I've been fortunate in that the Lord has allowed many doors to open. You probably think I'm an extrovert, right? Most of you? No, I'm not. I'm introvert. I like my own private time, Dr. Cullum. I like to sit and not do much. I just like I don't necessarily like calling people and sitting down and speaking to senators and attorney generals and mayors and all that kind of stuff and advocating. That wasn't necessarily my strength. The Lord somehow has given me, it's like, Moses, when Moses said, I can't talk, I fumble, and the Lord said, just open up your mouth, right? Just talk and I'll help you to speak, right? And so over the years, I've developed an ability to call and do these and connect with these relationships. Now that I can call the mayor, I can call the county executive, I call my representatives. They know who I am because I reached out to them, which was not a natural gift that I necessarily had. But the Lord empowered me, if you will, to do that. So you have to mobilize. You got to get outside the walls. You got to build relationships. So what is the model, if you will, of a faith-based organization? Well, what we did, we created a separate 501c3 from the church. So we have our church, the First Genesis Baptist Church, independent, exclusively separate from the faith-based organization, has a separate board, has a separate, it's a separate entity. I'm the president and CEO. We have a board that is highly skilled. I have forensic accountants, I have attorneys, I have retired professionals, I have community individuals. We have a well-skilled board. And so you have to create a New York State corporation and then a faith-based organization through the IRS, a 501c3. And it must be service and community commission, and it must have these 5 C's: connection, collaboration must be the focus, credibility, commitment. This takes time. What I'm going to share with you has taken many years to develop, and must be customer focused. That's the business side of me coming up. What do I mean by customer focus? Well, you must do things in the spirit of excellence, in a sense of structuring yourself such that it is not a fly-by-night kind of organization, but our expectation and my expectation as the leader is that we are top of the class in terms of excellence. Operate in the spirit of, I think that's only what Jesus would want. He would want us to operate in spirit of excellence. So if you're doing this work, Nehemiah, chapter number 1, verse number 5, you know that from chapter 1, actually starts at verse 1 to verse 11, but particularly 5 to 11, what did Nehemiah do when he heard about the distress, the wall, and the temple being destroyed in Jerusalem? What did the first thing he do? He didn't call anybody. He didn't call Ezra and say, are you going to do the temple and I'll do the wall? First thing he did was what? He prayed. When you're doing this kind of work, you have to pray. Prayer is absolutely essential. Prayer is essential because sometimes there are points of distress and disappointment, and actually sometimes points of delay and disruption. So you have to be in a constant, if you will, spirit of praying about, Lord, is this what you want me to do? Should I be doing this? Help me to continue to have the passion to do it. Our project that I'm going to share in a few minutes has taken 5 years to get to the point where we're going to be breaking ground in December. Through the COVID, so that you do 5 years, it's about 2019. Can you imagine? 5 years working on it. Then there was a need for prayer. You got to have spiritual discernment because as you are working on these type of projects, there are many things that can distract you. And we could have settled for other solutions. Get an example I'm going to share a little later. We are building 45 single-family homes in the city of Rochester, the Crescent area, where there hasn't been investment in over 35 years of home ownership. We were given the option to build 45 single-family homes to rent 4 years ago. It was an attractive offer to get things done, but we went before the Lord and said, Lord, is this what you want us to do? He said, no, I want to build single-family homes for home ownership. So we declined. And we were punished, I believe, I won't say punished. Let me stop saying that. We were delayed for 5 years before we were able to get approval to build these 45 single-family homes. But you got to go through spiritual discernment because there are points of things that look attractive, but may not be part of your vision and may not be what the Lord has passioned you to do. Through that process, you got to build coalitions. We're not doing this by ourselves. We're partnering with an experienced developer. We're partnering to learn the process. The next project that we're going to do, we're going to do it alone. We'll be the sole developers. But you have to be smart and wise and discerning to say, if I don't have experience in this, how do I get the experience? And so we're building a coalition, a team that's going to help us do that. And you got to develop leaders. You got to have good leaders. I'm the pastor. I'm a professor at the seminary. I'm a community advocate. I cannot and would not be able to do this work by myself. I have a team of capable people who are the operational excellence to the First Genesis Development Corporation. I'm the visionary, but I have a team who actually performs the process, all right? I know I got a few more minutes. I'm going to go through these a little quicker. So when you're going through the community building process, there are two approaches, community needs or community assets. Community needs says, what does the community need? The other approach, community assets, says, what are the assets that we can utilize to move forward with a program that is successful? So the road to success, a non-for-profit status, competent leaders, a governing structure, a defined governance structure, and the authority thereof, community engagement. You have to ensure that there are financial provisions. Now, let me go into that a little bit. Over the 5 years, we have, the First Genesis Development Corporation, had to invest in moving this project forward. So you have to have the seed funding from some source to continue to propel the process forward. Well, the First Genesis Baptist Church has been providing funding to the First Genesis Development Corporation as to bring the project forward. Now, that's been a tremendous 5 years, a financial strain on the ministry. It takes commitment. It takes fundraising. Once the project is done, there are financial rewards to the development corporation, but until then, it takes upfront investment. All right? And I should put patience and prayer at the top of the list, but patience and prayer. The parameters to success is incremental. Things don't happen overnight. You build confidence over time. People question if you're even capable of doing it. You have to seek partners, and sometimes if you have an initial partner, it doesn't work. Don't be hesitant or don't delay in switching partners if you need to. It becomes a mutual agreement. And then, this is really important, you have to be able to deal and to interact across social, ethnic, and economic boundaries. We're fortunate in our ministry in that we're located in the Crescent area, but many of the folks who are in our congregation are across Monroe County. And so we have folks who are in the community. We have folks who live in North Charlotte who attend our congregation, who live in Perryton, Fairport, Henrietta, down the street. We have a cross-section of people. And so, and we are even open, and we're not trying to get anybody from the Free Methodist Church necessarily, but we're open to anybody. 292 Hudson Avenue. We have service at 10:30 a.m. All right. So you want to stay as well, you want to stay focused on the vision, the mission. Don't be distracted. There are things that will come that will seem attractive, but may not be your mission or vision. And remember, this is a ministry. This work, this social justice work is a ministry. It is the work, I believe, that the church has to participate in the 21st century to continue to be relevant and impactful in the communities that we serve. Now, I always got to provide this because this is the model, these next two slides here, and I'm going to go through it quick. I'm not going to explain it. If you want me to explain it, just invite me to your church, and I'll come and explain in detail. But as part of my model that I developed for my doctor of ministry, Dr. McCowan is aware of it, Dr. Babcock, this is the foundation of the work that we do. It's something I call the axis of ministry. And if you see in the middle of the axis of ministry is the word faith. So this kind of describes what we do and why we do it, right? And there is a biblical and theological reason. The goal is to move discipleship. The goal is for social justice to be the end. And ultimately, this model and the idea of community development in impoverished areas and economically challenged areas is to show people that the church cares about them. And so it becomes an evangelism tool to reach those that you may not normally reach. You become socially relevant. Jesus, before he taught the disciples, or before he taught the word of God to anybody, what did he do? He fed them. If their stomachs are grumbling, they're less likely to hear you. If you don't have a roof over your head and you're not able to turn Netflix on because you don't have somewhere to stay, you're less likely to listen to the preacher on Sunday morning because you got other concerns. So the model in which it's the access of ministry kind of describes why we do what we do. Next slide here. There's also the outward, if you will, the external approach. And I call it the circle of partnership. That if you're going to do this work, you cannot do it by yourself. The church can't do it by itself. You must partner with community organizations, those who are experts in certain ways, to get things done such that it advances the work of the kingdom. Case study. I'm going to go through this. I told you I'm at First Genesis Baptist Church now. I've been there for 16 years. Prior to that, I was at I was at the Zion Hill Missionary Baptist Church, which is in the city of Rochester, and we did a lot of this work in the west side of the city of Rochester. I was the associate pastor there, and we did this work under an organization called Southwest Area Development Corporation. They're continuing to do the work. They did all of this work here. I was involved in some of it. At the bottom there, you'll see that Zion Hill just completed a senior apartment complex right next to the church on Bronson Avenue, and a 45-unit senior apartment complex. This is serving people who do not and did not have quality living arrangements. And so part of the work that the Access of Ministry and the Circle of Partnership has been influenced has been the work at Zion Hill. And that is currently, Zion Hill is currently pastored by Dr. Richard Douglas and his wonderful wife, First Lady Grace Douglas, who is a student at Northeastern, and she's working on her Doctor of Ministry. And so we have deep roots here at Roberts. Finally, I get to First Genesis. This is what we're doing. I shared it earlier. We did all of that. We created the First Genesis Development Corporation. We're using the Access of Ministry Circle of Partnership as the foundational things of what we're doing. We're building a $45 million project. Two parts to the project. 45 single-family homes to own. The prices will range between $110,000 and $170,000. It takes about $300,000 to build a house. And so therefore we needed funding, if you will, to subsidize to make the houses affordable. That's what takes such a long time. And we're fortunate in the partnership. We have ES&L that has invested. We have the city of Rochester, Monroe County, the state, and others who have, over the years, we've had to engage them in the conversation, and now the project has been approved. And we are building 45 single-family homes, 95 senior apartment complex. This is the area. We're covering 3 blocks in the city of Rochester. This is, at the bottom there, you'll see the bottom there, that's where the senior apartment complex is, and then you go up is where the single-family homes will. It'll be all next to each other. 3 continuous blocks that was, listen to this, that had been vacant for 30 years. 3 blocks, there were 4 homes that we had to purchase. 3 blocks. 4 homes we purchased to allow this project to go forward. We now own those 3 blocks, and we'll be breaking ground on the first 22 units in December, if weather permits. And then in July of 2025, the senior apartment complex will be going up. This is an incredible transformational project for the community. It gives an illustration that the church cares. It gives the opportunity for families to participate, as many of us are in the American dream, to have their own, and to begin on the cycle of generational wealth and home ownership. There's a scripture that says, can't remember where it's at, but it says, this is the Lord's doing. And it's marvelous in our sight. This work is the Lord's doing. And it's going to be marvelous for people and transformational. And I believe every church has an opportunity to do this. Not just in the urban area, not just in redlined areas, but across, I believe, suburban, rural areas. This is a way, this is one way, not the only way, but this is one way in which the church can show that they care for the needs of families and individuals. We're not stopping there. There's another $100 million project. It's not going to deal with homes, but it's going to deal with commercial development. That's already on the design, and this is the thing. When you know the Lord is in it, they will come looking for you. So initially, you had to make yourself available, and now I'm trying to discern who to talk to and who not to talk to, because not everyone's intentions will be the same intentions that you have. Thank you so much for your time. And immediately after this, I believe I'm going to have to run to another meeting, but I'm coming back. I want to make myself available. I just want to participate in the service. Who's the young man who did the devotion? Yeah, I want to come back and hear you again. You did. Or whomever it is. That was a good word. I appreciate the words of it. I want to open it up for any questions or comments if I'm not at my time already. Just a minute or two. All right. Yes?
How are you addressing the food desert in this development?
We, in this particular development, is not addressing the food desert, but our church, our ministry, the First Genesis Baptist Church, has a robust community outreach that we provide to the homeless, because we have different components, and so we provide food and clothing on Tuesdays and Saturdays. That's something the church does. But the $100 million project that I talked about is going to address some of that. When I'm in the office at the church, sometimes I have to go, if I want to eat lunch, and I eat a lot healthier now, but I used to eat a lot of greasy food and fast food and all that. And I don't do that anymore. But I got to go about 7-8 miles to get something good. And so we're going to address the food desert, that we're going to have some commercial strips in the community so that people can walk to some quality food, and just as we do in Henrietta, Penfield, wherever you might be. Yes. Yes, and then over here. Yes. Yes. Marlena. Yes. So we partnered with a construction firm, but one of the things that we require, there's certain requirements in New York State, but what we went beyond that. We have a contractor, and we said, we will send you employable people who will show up and who are able and skilled to do the work, and they are from the community, and we want you to hire them. And the contractors and developers have been agreeable to that. And I told them, if you don't do it, I said, and I told you guys just now, we have a forensic accountant on the board. You know what forensic accountants do? They do forensic accounting. They're able to track stuff. So I said, we know paperwork, we know how all that works, so we're going to send the people, and then we're going to check it. And so we employ people from the community. Thank you. Yes, ma'am. Yeah, okay, so that is, thank you for, I thought I said that, but it's on the intersection of Upper Falls and Hudson Avenue. Upper Falls and Hudson Avenue. Our church is about a block away from there. And so on the intersection there, Upper Falls is on the bottom, Hudson goes up to the top, and then that's 3 blocks. 3 blocks, yes. Yes, sir. Thank you. Yes, the requirement is that families have to be within what they call the 80 to 100% of the AMI, which is the average income for that area. One of our goals is not just to build homes and put families in these homes. That's one goal. But to your point, we have programs set up that have been funded to ensure that these homeowners get trained on how to sustain their home. Right? Anybody who's a homeowner knows if you own the home for the first time, something's going to go wrong. The furnace is going to go out, the hot water heater, and so on. And so we're going to have the services available such that they will be able to go through the classes to learn how do you sustain the home. You need an emergency fund. You need reserves. And we're also providing financial literacy classes to them. Yes. Anybody else? I know I have one more minute. It might be over. Great. Thank you so much for your time and being so attentive.